Welcome back, everyone. Hi to everybody out there on Facebook land. My next guest is Ebony Green. She's been on with me once before. She is a speech pathologist, and she is the owner of the Speak Center. Welcome to the back to the show, I should say it that way. And tell everybody a little bit about the center, but also what Speak stands for.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Carol. So, as Carol mentioned, I'm the owner of the Speak Center for Language and Learning. What we do is we provide comprehensive care to children and adults who need speech services, occupational therapy services, feeding therapy, music therapy, or any other type of therapeutic intervention to help with some of the diagnoses that we treat, such as autism, speech delays. And what's unique about the Speak Center is that we not only provide therapy in our clinic, but we also provide home-based care. So our therapists can come to you if you are a member of the DDD network, or if your child is at a school that allows for our therapists to come and provide services at their school.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things. First of all, I want to get this out very clearly, that this is not just for children. This is for adults too.
Absolutely. So we do have some patients that come to us and they are adults. Again, we still have the treatments for the different disorders that we treat, as well as speech interventions for different speech needs. So we don't necessarily just work with kids. We help adults as well with those needs.
Now, what exactly is a late talker, and how is that different from a child with a speech delay or disorder?
Great question. So one of the things that we often hear from parents is that their child is not speaking, or compared to some of the peers, their child seems to be a little bit delayed. So it's important to identify some of the characteristics of a late talker versus having a speech disorder. And basically what a late talker is a child who might be slightly behind their peers, but there is no actual speech disorder. And how you can identify that is basically how long it takes the child to actually start speaking. By the age of, I would say 2, your child should be saying some words, combining words for sure. If they get to 3.5, and you're still kind of taking that wait and see approach, it's actually best for you to seek some sort of evaluation. And so you would want to bring that up to your pediatrician or a professional that can help you assess whether your child has a speech disorder.
Now, do you do that?
We actually provide the interventions for those kids that need an evaluation and qualify for speech therapy. So yes.
Sure, absolutely. And I think it's really important. A lot of times, some people are put their heads in the sand. And then there's ones that are overly protective and thinking, oh my God, there's something wrong before there's even anything wrong, right? But the best, can they just call you direct and get that?
Yeah, if they have any concerns, you can call us and ask for a screening.
Now, you are located in Chandler at Arizona and Ray, and they would call you direct at 480-296-2363, and the website is thespeakcenter.com. So, at what age then, obviously you were saying that at least at 3.5 that they should start to talk, and they're concerned at 3 years old, you would think for sure.
Yeah, so they should be talking before 3, but a lot of parents will try to wait until preschool, to see if there's any need for an intervention. I say, early intervention is actually the best way to get ahead of a speech problem. So don't wait. If at 3 years old they're still not combining words, their peers seem way ahead of them, get an evaluation.
Now, what are some of the common signs that a child might have a speech language or disorder rather than just being like the late bloomer? What would you call, obviously if they're not speaking is one thing, but a speech impediment?
Yeah. So some of the things that you'll notice is that they really don't initiate communication. The kids that have speech disorders, they tend to compensate for them not being able to speak, so they're not going to initiate. They're going to try to pull their parent to the toy that they want or to whatever snack they want. They might make vocalizations like, cry or whine a little bit to get something rather than actually attempting to speak or communicate. So that's one thing, is if you start to see that pattern, it's probably a speech disorder.
Now, I want you to give just your tip on that, because a lot of times parents also can get very frustrated with their children.
Right.
Should they be don't get frustrated, what should you know, what do you tell parents to do in that situation?
So definitely try to not get frustrated. What we encourage parents to do is to communicate with the child as much as possible to allow them to hear you using the language that they can start using. So if they're pulling you to the refrigerator because they want a snack, you can say, oh, you want a snack? Let's open up the refrigerator and see what snack you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just allowing them to demonstrate that behavior without actually, with there being no communication.
Now, if you have any questions, and I think you should be on top of it as best as possible, the phone number to call is 480-296-2363. They're located in Chandler at Arizona and Ray, and the website is thespeakcenter.com. Are there specific risk, I'll get it out, I can't talk today either, risk factors or red flags that increase the likelihood a late talker may be, later than ever?
Yes, so one of the risk factors is, not really being in an environment where they're exposed to a lot of communication. So if they live in a household where there's a lot of screen time, there's not a lot of interactions with the parents, then they're at risk for probably being speech delayed or developing a disorder, because children need to hear language. They need to be exposed to vocabulary in order for them to develop their own vocabulary and language skills.
So it may be something that they're learning in the home environment. It's not necessarily something that they are born with.
Some disorders are things that they're born with.
Mm-hmm.
Delays are more what you see in the environment, right?
Wow.
So a delay can happen, when, again, there's not that exposure to language
Right.
in the home. There's a lot of screen time. They're not around peers that they can hear using those language skills.
I can imagine. Because I don't think about that, right? I'm an older person, so I don't think about that screen time and all of that, but it makes sense. And I think you need to interact, and you make sure that you're still doing that because they're going to be on that screen no matter what, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Now, I want to talk a bit about what early intervention does to help.
So what early intervention does is it allows for the patient to start intervention much sooner than taking that wait and see approach where maybe you're going to wait until your child gets into kindergarten to start asking for help. So by getting them in intervention sooner, they start to remediate some of those behaviors that they might be demonstrating, especially when it comes to language. Kids are like sponges. They pick up things very quickly, and the younger they are, the faster they learn.
Sure. What's your youngest child?
We can start seeing kids as early as 2 years of age. We've had some parents come in super early, and it's just because they have that instinct tells them to bring their child in.
And you can call them direct, and they can help answer questions, bring them in, and have them do an evaluation, I guess, on them to find out, well, where are they? And a lot of times, we even have grandparents that are taking care of the children, and they see things probably even sooner than some of the parents do. Do you have a lot of times they call, or my mom told me this, or
Yeah.
right? Okay. So what are some of the practical things that parents can do at home to support their child's language development? What, besides just the screen time and talking to them, what are some of the other things that they can do?
Yeah, so reducing screen time, as we mentioned, talking to your child. I like to narrate to young children, what we're doing throughout the day. So when my kids were very young, I would have a conversation with them, even if they couldn't talk back. When we were going to the library, I would talk about what we were going to do at the library. So setting them up for success by exposing them to as much language as possible.
It's important to, and I would think that all parents are going to do that, but they don't all do that, right?
No.
To me, reading was really important, right? And
Absolutely.
interacting with them, talking to them. Also, what are your thoughts about baby talk?
Yeah.
As opposed to talking to them? I mean, you don't have to be intellectual with them, but baby
Right.
talk sometimes is not so good.
Yeah, so, you want to talk to them in the way that you would talk to anyone else, because that actually helps with language development.
I betcha. Now, when should a parent then seek an evaluation from a speech language pathologist such as yourself?
So if your pediatrician has any concerns about your child's language development, the next step would be to contact a speech language pathologist. Like I said, we could do a screening, and then we can determine whether your child needs a full evaluation.
And I do think that doctors are involved quite a bit, but you know your child best, and if you have any questions whatsoever, give them a call, have them do that evaluation for you. Their phone number is 480-296-2363. They're located in Chandler at Arizona and Ray. The website is thespeakcenter.com. And again, tell them what SPEAK stands for.
SPEAK stands for SPEAK stands for supporting parents and empowering all kids.
You know what, it's so important, and I know when this is going on, it can be very frustrating as parents. She's saying, don't get frustrated, talk to them, read to them, talk to them as they're, you would talk to someone else. Again, that phone number is 480-296-2363. It's thespeakcenter.com.